greatest co-host in the world, Wacky 99. Get ready to rumble!
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly crevasse.
That is the best intro I have ever received.
The world. The Buffalo Jets fan.
Yo.
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be, I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well, you know. It's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4.3 speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
Right.
To get
You're a
on
cheater.
you, I'm a cheater. Well, hello and welcome to Wacky Wednesday. Jets Chaos in the house. That's right. In the house. And what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about what everybody's talking about tonight. You know what I think sometimes? I think that everybody says, especially the beat, the deal is about to happen. It's about to happen. It's about to happen. We're on the verge of the deal. The deal is really close. And you know why they keep saying that? Because eventually when the deal happens, they could say, I was right. But the reality is the deal could happen tonight. The deal could happen in 2 weeks. We got a month to the draft. There's no motivation for either of these teams to make a deal right now or to rush to it. So, yes, it could happen in 10 minutes. Or it can happen in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. And I guarantee you that somebody, one day is going to say, we're on the verge of a deal. And that's going to be the magic moment when there's a deal. And that person will ride that train of being the greatest prognosticator in the world until they're wrong about something. But anyway, let's welcome some people into the chat. Jets mess. Did I say it 3 times? Jets, mess. What is going on? You are the master snacker. Sean McIntyre is here early today. He got done early defending the Temecula Valley. Nathan Colgrove, what's going on, my friend? It's good to see you. It is good to see Chode. I'm getting used to his new name. I didn't get to see him when I was in North Carolina. I will next time. Unfortunately, I had gotten the COVID, so I wasn't able to go. Harlan is always here saying all the right things. What a great guy. What a great dude. Drug Monkey is in a good mood. He's laughing and having a good time. We got Tony Alexio in the house. We got Saruji. He's a Packer fan here, listening to Jet fans and finally having hope on winning. Good luck, Jets fans. Thanks. Yeah, you know, he definitely gives us hope, especially if you know our team. You'll know that we really just needed a quarterback. And when that deal eventually happens, we'll have our quarterback. When the deal eventually happens. Salty Nalty, what's going on? Don't be McGalty. Just don't be faulty. You're always a love Nalty. AbLab Studios is in the house. Good to see you, brother. Always good to see you. Twisted, what's going on, my friend? John B. Thank you, man. I'm feeling much better. Starting to get that energy back. I don't know. I was wiped out this in the morning, but I get stronger during the day. I think I'm definitely fully on the road to recovery. I do. I'm almost there. I went back to work today, so that was a good feeling. I was actually happy to be working and happy to be productive. Now, I was going to announce my co-host. Okay, he's back. Okay, he was leaning over And I thought for a second he had gone away. He got bored. Ant Jets 82, what's going on, brother? Okay, so let's make a proper introduction because I'm feeling good. And I know some of you love it. Some of you hate it, but most of you love it. So I will go with what most of you say. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the fan of the hockey playoff clinching Rangers, the soon-to-be playoff clinching New York Knicks, the soon-to-be watching the opening day New York Mets, the 18 hot dog eating champion, the pizza eating champion, a wing eating connoisseur, a chef in his own right, the greatest co-host in the world. Wacky 99.
And you are right, Jeremy. It is good to have you back, and I can hear the energy in your voice. I can feel the energy from the chat tonight as we remain in the most exciting, nothing happening state of Jets history when we just all know something is about to happen. One side wants it to happen. The other side wants it to happen. The man in question wants it to happen, and yet it's not freaking happening. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but the more the time goes by, there are a lot of people who say that they are not feeling confident, that they get more worried that this is going to fall apart. The more the time goes on, I'm here to tell you right now, guys, I am a 35-year New York sports fan. That's pretty much what I count as my conscious memory. I have not seen a whole lot of glory. I have not seen a whole lot of happiness. I have seen no championships in 29 painful, teasing, miserable years. But I will say this trade is going to happen. We are going to have the greatest quarterback playing for our team that we have ever seen. It's not if, it's when. And then it's a matter of building up around him, and that's going to happen in about 1 month from now. We keep talking about the draft, guys. I'm telling you, draft month starts this week. It's coming. It's going to come faster than we know. There are exciting days ahead, so let's catch on. Let's enjoy the ride. Let's put our pessimism to the side. This is the time to do it because it's the off season and the games haven't started yet. But this is an exciting time to be a New York Jets fan. And to the good Packers fans who are here, we thank you. We appreciate your respect. We appreciate you developing Aaron Rodgers. Clearly, you have prepared him for such a time as this. It says so in the Bible, prepared for such a time as this. And we promise to treat him with all the respect that he deserves. To the Packers fans who have not represented their city and their region quite as well, good luck with Jordan Love and our leftovers. You're going to get like Thomas Hennessy, Denzel Mims, and maybe we'll throw you Jordan Whitehead just as a courtesy gift. So I hope you appreciate it. How you doing tonight, Jeremy?
I am getting more and more excited as time goes on. I realize the deal will happen at some point. It's going to happen. And, you know, whatever the compensation is, it's going to hurt no matter what, because I love draft picks. I'm like Joe Douglas. You know what I mean? We can get him for a second-round pick, whether, you know, and it's not a first-round pick, and everyone will be happy, and I know I should be happy. I'll get over that sting really fast anytime I just watch some Aaron Rodgers highlights. Anytime I watch Aaron Rodgers play, when I watch just reruns of games, I was just playing some highlights from his even last season, which some people are saying wasn't a great season for him. I watch it and I'm like, when have the Jets ever had a quarterback like that? I mean, he's just in control. He's a commander. He's just so relaxed. He stands in the pocket. The way he releases the ball, perfect strikes, the perfect touch, all over the field. As soon as a guy gets gets open, he spots it and he just explodes. The ball just fires out of him towards the receiver. so accurately, so much of the time. And I just, I mean, I have memories of some good quarterback play, but like nothing at that level. I mean, yeah, Chad Pennington, really accurate, but short passes, right? Really conservative. The difference is that Aaron Rodgers doesn't just throw these short, beautiful, accurate passes, but when somebody breaks free, a slant across, a post, he just throws in stride, perfect, deep passes downfield. And we have never seen the likes of that. We really haven't. I mean, and the thought of just this team with Garrett Wilson, and then he has his boy Lazard, lining up, Conklin and Brees Hall when he comes back, just all these weapons, and what we're going to get in the draft, restocking that offensive line. It's just getting so exciting because I'm waiting and knowing that when we get the football, finally, we're going to be a team that drives down the field and scores touchdowns.
We can score. Yeah, that we can score. Like, how many times I feel like as long as we've been taught, as long as we've known each other, one of the biggest things we've lamented about is field position. It feels like the opponent is always starting around the Jets' 35 to around their own 35 to 45 yard line. The Jets are always starting around their own 10. Does it feel that way, Jets fans? Does it feel like we always start with the worst field position? Well, even if that were to happen, even if that was true, we'd be like, okay, that's just a few more yards Aaron Rodgers will add to his passing total. Yeah. Now it doesn't feel like an obstacle. Now it feels like just another thing to brush off our shoulder right now. But yes, Aaron Rodgers, when I think about him as a quarterback, like I was saying, if you were creating a quarterback from scratch, like what would you put in? What would you put in for like the legs, the arms, the brain, and all of that? And Aaron Rodgers, it's hard to find for me. This is just me. One particular trait that makes him special. It feels like he does everything super, super well. Whether it's his mind, whether it's reading a play, whether it's the distance he puts on the ball, the accuracy of the pass, his footwork, he can move a little bit. Still, he can move a little bit if he has to escape. He can get a few yards for you. As far as an all-around quarterback, it's harder to find a better one that we have seen over the last couple of decades in the NFL. And even if he is getting close to was he 38, 39 years old? What's his age at this point? Do you remember?
39.
39, 117 days. Yes. Born in 1983. No matter how close he is to putting a 4 in front of his age, I still have every confidence he is going to be better than at least 3/4 of the quarterbacks in this league, especially if you put a good line in front of him and good weapons around him. And he's got the weapons. He's got all he needs, in my opinion, for playmakers. Now, I still need to see at least 2 more pieces on this offensive line, and I think that's going to get addressed in the draft. But if you add 1 more tackle and 1 more center, you have an offense that could realistically be a top 5 offense in the NFL. I really am starting to feel that.
It's getting super exciting. I mean, I know we're all assuming Brees Hall's not going to be the same and it's going to take time. We don't know anything. We know nothing about how long it's going to take Brees Hall. He could totally be an outlier, just like Adrian Peterson was. We don't know. We're going to find out. But what we do know is there was nothing wrong with our tight ends last year. I promise people. We just didn't have a quarterback to utilize them. Conklin is going to be great in this situation with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. There's no question in my mind. Michael Carter is going to be, you're going to see that receiving side of his running back skills. He's a good receiver. And I think you're really going to see that with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, because you have to understand that they're not going to be able to stack the box anymore. He's going to be spreading out defenses, and that's going to leave space for our slot receiver. It's going to leave space also for Michael Carter and our tight end. And you don't know where we're going to attack. I mean, it's not like we're just sending these guys out for passes every time. Obviously, we run different plays, but on any given play, we have so many capable people. Like Conklin, we've seen the tape, even before he was a Jet. He could slide out a couple of steps into the slot and be very effective one-on-one against the linebacker. Michael Carter out of the backfield, slipping through, and the great thing is that Rodgers doesn't just look to him like he has, you know what I mean? He looks downfield. He goes through the progressions. If Garrett Wilson's open, he's going to hit him. If Lazard is open downfield, he's going to hit him. But if those guys are pretty well covered, he is deceptive. He'll fake the pump. He'll dump it off to Michael Carter. We're going to see just such a higher level of offense. And what's great is he has his offensive coordinator. So there's no worry that it's going to be, oh, he's just not working out or connecting with Mike LaFleur, because it's not Mike LaFleur. He has his favorite offensive coordinator. He has Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett, the old Jewish comedian.
I just said Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett.
He has Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett. He could have outcoached some of our previous OCs, in all fairness. Oh my God.
But it's going to be such a beautiful thing for us. It's such a deserved thing. We've waited so long, and we're finally going to see something we've never really seen the likes of. And I want to say, when we patch up that offensive line with a couple of good draft picks, don't sleep. John Nolte's laughing at that. Don't sleep on Bam. Don't sleep on Bam Bam. Don't sleep on Michael Carter. Those guys, when the offensive line was healthy, even last year, when the offensive line was healthy, those guys were very effective.
They definitely were. Now, I'm still a little bit, hopefully this little Michael Carter spat, him acting like a petulant child with the trade of his boy, Elijah Moore, hopefully Michael Carter will shape up and get his mind right. Because I got to tell you right now, I'm a little bit uncertain about number 32 on this team right now. I was a big Michael Carter fan his first season. I still remember Hard Knocks, like the very end of, it was the last episode of Hard Knocks when he talked about, man, there were 2 or 3 times when these guys caught me from behind. And this year I'm going to work to create that extra burst so that never happens again. And I didn't see any difference whatsoever. Like if I was to ask any of the Jets fans in this chat right now, we got literally dozens of people in the chat right now. If I had to ask you all, name the trademark, the best play that Michael Carter had this past off season, what would it be? You would hear crickets. There was no trademark Michael Carter play all season, and it disappointed me so much, because I felt he was capable of more. Now, yes, Breece Hall dominated the first half of the season, but what was the excuse the second half, when they were putting in James Robinson, when they were putting in Ty Johnson, when they were doing these types of things? Bam Knight started to play. Michael Carter should have become the number 1 running back, but he wasn't. And for him to scrub everything Jets off of social media, like somehow this is like protesting nowadays. My gosh, I mean, grow a pair already, will you? He's scrubbing everything off of that. He's like, leave me alone. He's blocked half of Jets Twitter right now. The only people he hasn't blocked are the people who haven't messaged him directly at this point. So I'm starting to feel a little bit worried about him, and I want to like him. But hopefully once Aaron Rodgers comes in, he'll be like, you know what? Maybe Elijah Moore. I liked Elijah Moore. He'll always be my guy. He'll be my dog, whatever he wants to say. But we got some pretty good guys on this team. And you know what? Elijah right now is going to wish he was back on the Jets, because we're kicking the ass of every team that we play right now. And I get to be a part of it. I really hope Michael Carter thinks big picture and not just one player leaving.
I think that Michael Carter's gonna have a bounce back year. I really do.
I hope so, man. I want him to.
You know what it is? I'll say this. It's very simple. And this is the difference between an elite running back and just a good running back. Good running backs, if you give them a good offensive line and good blocking, they can rush for 1,000 yards in a season and be really good.
Yep.
And people think they're really good, right? But that same running back, you give them a crumbling offensive line, injuries, not very good, then they're not very good. Then you have your elite guys, your special guys. That's what Breece Hall is. Breece Hall is a guy that if you give him a good offensive line, he's going to put up 1,800 yards and do crazy things. If you give him a crappy offensive line, he's still going to get 1,200 yards because he's special. And that's the difference between an elite running back and just a good running back. I think our offensive line will come back stronger. I think Michael Carter and Bam Bam will be fine. Ty Johnson. Whoever carries the ball will be fine as long as our offensive line does well, especially with Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't let you stack the box because he'll eat you alive in the passing game. But it's really about Breece Hall. If you want to see something special, if we want those big 40-yard runs, those big, touchdown runs and all that good stuff, we need Breece Hall to come back. And I believe he will. It might not be the first few weeks. It might take some time, but eventually we'll get our Breece Hall back, and then we're really, really going to be dangerous when that happens.
I think so too. I really think that I would not be surprised to see Bam get the lion's share of the carries to start off the season until Breece is ready to go. I've been a Bam fan basically since the beginning. I mean, not that it has anything to do with him playing at NC State. Not that that's a factor. That's just a convenient bonus. But yeah, he is like the one player. I was very surprised he was not drafted, and he was the one undrafted free agent I was thrilled the Jets were able to get their hands on. And it shows again that there are going to be there are very good players. I guarantee you that we have mocked to the Jets in these mock drafts that are not going to get drafted at all. I mean, remember, we were thinking about Kenny Yeboah in the 3rd and 4th round, and he never got drafted, and the Jets were able to get a hold of him. And he's turned into a very useful special teams player. So you never know who you could find. And the more the time goes on, I could come to terms with the fact that the first Joe Douglas draft was a very, very big disappointment. The story is not completely written at this point because there is still a chance for Becton, a little bit of a chance for Denzel Mims. And Bryce Hall was good for 2 years. Last year he was a nightmare, and some guys got injured. I mean, that does happen. But every year things have gotten a little better and a little bit better. He's dominated the trades that he has made. Now we'll see what the Elijah Moore trade is going to turn into. That one's a little bit harder to gauge. But between the Darnold trade, the Herndon trade, the Adams trade, the Cashman trade, every single time we've been, oh my goodness, how did he pull that off? Especially when you compare what other quarterbacks have been traded for and situations like that. And then you look at the players that they get for the draft picks that they are acquiring in these trades. I mean, the fourth that they got, I keep saying it, the fourth they got for, I believe it's the fourth for Chris Herndon, turned into Michael Clemens. Chris Herndon for Michael Clemens. What football GM would not make that trade today? It'd be like, yes, and I'll give you a mid-round draft pick on top of it just to make it happen. So I feel better and better about this team's ability to supplement the roster. Now, there are absolute holes here. Just getting Aaron Rodgers does not fix this team. I still don't believe they're quite there on that level with Kansas City and Cincinnati. The team still needs 2 offensive linemen. They need a starting defensive tackle, and in my mind, a third defensive tackle. I don't want Solomon Thomas as my primary backup. A sub linebacker, yes, I'd like Quan back, but you know what? You don't play 3 linebackers as often as you used to because you're playing 5 defensive backs a lot more. So to me, the slot corner is more important than the third linebacker. If Quan wants to come back, that's great, but I don't consider it essential. So if they can get 2 defensive tackles, 2 offensive linemen, and a ball hawking free safety, I will feel if they could do that between now and the draft and even going into cutdowns, because there'll be some players who get let go. I'm going to feel completely ready that this team is as loaded as it could have possibly been. And even with the limited cap space that we have now Joe Douglas hasn't dealt with that limited cap space. I've got the confidence that he can find a way to get it done because, if anything, the New Orleans Saints have proven the cap is fake. I don't know how they managed to manipulate it, but they managed to. And I've got a good feeling that there are moves in the works that we're not even envisioning that could still happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's. I definitely think we look. We're talking to people. We're looking at people. We don't sign everybody we talk to, and that's fine. The point is, we're out there always looking to make the team better. There's definitely some money left to do it because that's why otherwise we wouldn't bother talking to people. The Jets don't say when I say show enough. No, it's when I say who's the master, you say show enough.
Show enough?
Show enough.
Show enough.
The bus was Eddie Arcanian, the bad guy at the end. He was like, I was just hanging out with my friend Mr. Nuff. He called him Mr. Nuff. It was great.
Was his first initial E for enough?
But anybody who hasn't watched The Last Dragon, you got to watch it with Bruce Leroy. It's like one of the most classic, most amazing cult movies ever.
I actually saw him at a Ring of Honor wrestling show. That was interesting. Oh my God. That was like
Tony Alexio comes in with a super chat. He says, will JD trade after the draft to reduce demands? I think that the trade's going to happen before the draft, because I think that it is leverage for us because Green Bay wants it to happen so they can get the draft capital right away. It's more valuable. And I think that JD definitely doesn't want it to go past that, because then he kind of throws some of the power, some of the edge, the leverage onto their side of the court. Because once that draft goes through, it's like, okay, that's done. Now Green Bay could say, well, we may as well wait till after June 1st. Because then we could spread out the $60 million when we trade them, and suddenly they kind of have a little bit more of the leverage because they're holding him hostage. I don't think they want to do that. I don't think it's good for either team. So I say that as we get close to the draft, they'll find a way to make it work. It's probably going to be a second round pick, either 42 or 43. It doesn't matter really which one. I don't think Green Bay and the Jets are battling for the same guy in that spot. Most likely not. And I think you are probably looking at some kind of contingency that is going to most likely, if we do well and make the playoffs, lead to another number 2 pick, the following year. And I don't know if I believe the rumors or not. I don't trust anything from the mainstream, the beats. But if it's true about 2025, there might be a contingency in there for us that says if Rodgers retires in 1 year, then we get back some pick. That we put some skin in the game, that we get some kind of compensation for that. I don't know if that's true because I don't trust the media at all. But like the beat, I don't trust the beat at all with those rumors and the things that they say. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be surprised if it's a number 2 this year. I mean, next year it could be anything. It might be the contingency might be anywhere from a 4th to a 2nd. Who knows what it's going to be based on? But the fact that we traded for that extra second with Cleveland and got that extra second, it seems fairly obvious that that's what we're talking about, as far as this draft. When the deal happens, it's going to be one of those 2 picks. What do you think?
I agree with that. I don't see any way that the Jets give up 13 at this point. Even Green Bay has come out and, the latest reports. And doesn't it feel like every other day there's a new conflicting report about who's holding the trade up, what this side is asking for, what this side's asking for? Oh, so people want to talk some wrestling tonight. It's WrestleMania week. We could definitely spend a few minutes on wrestling a little bit later if you wanted to. Welcome aboard, London Jets fan. Is that London, England, or London, Ontario, dare I ask? But there are multiple Londons out there, so yeah, we got to be sure, because that's a very different time zone situation. But
thank you for becoming. Thank you so much for becoming a light snacker, becoming a member, and
check me out at NY Sports Wicker Media as well. I would really appreciate if you would take a moment and subscribe to my channel too.
Absolutely.
But I'll go back to your previous question. I'm sorry. What was it? The compensation. Yeah. So to me, they're not going to give up 13. It seems like every team, the Jets and Packers, are going back and forth on. If you listen to the most recent stuff from the general managers' meetings, I felt they were going to make some progress this week. I really, really did. And it seems like they're saying very similar things. Where they're starting to realize Green Bay's like, okay, we're only going to get so much. We're not going to get what we wanted. We try to call the Jets bluff. We realized we couldn't fool Joe Douglas. How dare we even attempt to do that? It's up London, England. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed Woody being your ambassador. So yeah. To me, I have a feeling that the trade's just going to be finalized out of nowhere. Right now, it's a lot of media talk. I feel like these sides are being a little more truthful than we would know. It feels like they're almost posturing to the media, because Joe Douglas typically does not say a lot. We know that. If you go to his press conferences, he doesn't say a whole lot. It's very buttoned down, very political, very by the books. But he's actually come out and said recently, it's like, we're not looking at Lamar Jackson. That's not what we're doing. We want to stay true to our course, to what we want to do. This is what we're focused on. He didn't say something like, well, when a player of his talent becomes available, you explore all avenues to try to make your team better. He didn't say anything like that. He has all but shown his cards, and so have the Packers. This is the worst kept secret in a long, long time of what's going to happen. And that's why it amazes me. It's not that I'm worried about the deal not getting done. It's a matter of the tiniest details finally getting completed. Now, the latest thing, I think it was from like Boomers. I heard on WFAN. I think it was on Boomer and Geo talking about the Jets, that contingency plan. Do the Jets have some protection? And I agree with you. They absolutely need to. To me, I am willing to give up the 42 this year. I would do it. And then I would give an elevator pick in the following season. And I would start it as low as maybe a fifth, or maybe a 6th round pick, if he doesn't play, if he doesn't come out, I would be willing to do that. If I'm just throwing these off the top of my head, so we could always fine tune them. But you get this if he plays the season, you get this if you make the playoffs, you get this if you get to the Super Bowl. I like the idea of an incentive laden trade. Anything to make Aaron Rodgers motivated, anything to get him ticked off. A ticked off Aaron Rodgers is the best Aaron Rodgers. That's the simplest way to sum it up.
Yeah, look, I'm not arguing if he has something a little extra to play for. I think no matter what, being on a new team with some new weapons and everything like that, and having a really good defense, like playing on a team that has this great defense, you have your number one receiver. You know, he lost that last year when he lost Devontae, but now he gets it back with Garrett Wilson. Getting his friend Lazard on that team, you know, like, and having that comfort level there. Like, I think that, you know, again, Breece Hall coming back is key. You know, we can't forget about the importance of Breece Hall and the impact a healthy Breece Hall brings to a team. I mean, he was carrying our offense alone. Can you imagine him with Aaron Rodgers on the team? Because now it's a two-pronged attack. Now we have that explosive elite running back with a top-notch, you know, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. It's really, if our defense plays the way it played last year, I mean, you're talking about something so special, you know. Anyway, I'm in the mood for some biscotti now. I just wanted to say that. But the potential for this team is just off the charts. There's just off the charts potential. So it's exciting. Green Bean is out there eating pizza all the way in Ashbury, New Jersey, chowing down on pizza every day. Can't get enough of it.
Good for it. It was his first time on a train. I saw him post that. He had never been on a train in his life. That was amazing. Like, I know he'd never been on Amtrak, but never on a train. Growing up in New Jersey, it's amazing to think he never would have been on a train before. But I believe that's what he posted on Instagram.
That's interesting.
That is amazing. That is truly amazing. I mean, shoot, I took a train from Virginia all the way to freaking New Jersey. And I got to say, I didn't mind it. I kind of like the train. I mean, my mom worked for American Airlines for 42 years. I have a feeling she might be watching. Hi, go to sleep. But she gave me the ability to fly, and I was very blessed to have those flights. So I didn't take the train all that far unless it was like a regional subway or something like that. But yeah, the train is a good way to travel. It actually can be fun. It really can. Low, you know, simple cost, takes a little bit more time. But yeah, it really can be fun. It's worth doing, especially that Northeast corridor. It goes from where I am down here in coastal Virginia. You can take it all the way to Boston. It's pretty sweet.
I love it. And look, I mean, I grew up obviously in the subway in New York. And then the first time I took a real Amtrak, I think, was San Diego to LA. And then, you know, most of my train riding, the real fun train riding, was in Europe. You know, going from London to Amsterdam to Brussels, and then me and my wife did a lot of in Italy, because we flew into Milan, and then we took the train to Florence, and then we took a train to Rome, and you know, and like the
Rome train. Yeah, I do know that one. Yeah,
and the trains in Europe are a lot of fun. Like,
they are
a lot of fun, because there's like the food cart, and you can get, and it's not like You know, like it's not like bad food. Like when you go to a food cart in Italy, it's like
Right.
it's actually amazing. Like they have real espresso that's like, oh my god. And then you can get like a baguette with like mortadella and fresh mozzarella, whatever, on a baguette, and you're like eating it. You're going, how is this on a train? This is like.
Although I wonder if,
amazing.
if Italians consider that like their Subway or their Quiznos, like maybe if they came to America, they think that we had the greatest freaking food ever, and you can get it on Amtrak.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it's when we first had the prosciutto there, we thought like it was a hotel, and we thought this is amazing, this is amazing. Then we went to this great, highly recommended restaurant that used to be a butcher, and we had
Really?
that prosciutto, and
And
we realized that what was amazing to us for breakfast was just cheap hotel breakfast prosciutto to any Italian, because
Right.
when you ate the stuff from a butcher, it was like it was a totally different world. You know, and every once in a while, you'll find a very high-end deli in a place like Chicago or a major city, San Francisco, or even in Sacramento. We have these guys from Chicago, a major place, and they import prosciutto from Italy. And it's like, once you get a taste for something good, everything else then just becomes like what I used to consider good prosciutto. Now it's like hard wax, you know?
once you've had filet mignon, it's hard to go back to bologna.
Yeah.
That'll be like us. Once you've had Aaron Rodgers, it's tough to go back to Zach Wilson.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. See how we bring it around to football, just
Yeah.
like that.
That was the whole point of what we were saying. It's like once we get used to Aaron Rodgers, it's like I feel bad. Like look, I mean, the odds that Green Bay, that Jordan Love ends up being like 3 in a row, that you know, like even if he's decent at quarterback, they just had Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. The odds that Jordan Love could be anywhere at the level of those two guys, like even if he's good, he's not going to be at the level of Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? So it's it's going to be hard for them.
Yeah, even the Colts went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck to who?
Right.
Exactly. I mean, how many Colts quarterbacks? That's a good trivia question. How many Colts quarterbacks can you name since Andrew Luck? Carson Wentz, Sam Ellinger, you know, those types of guys. So yeah, I mean, they got a pretty good deal for a while.
It's gonna be hard for them, and sometimes you don't realize it. Like the smart Packer fans are. I mean, like my brother-in-law, my brother's sister-in-law's husband. So I consider him my brother-in-law. He's a diehard Packers fan, and I know he's upset.
Yeah,
because he's smart. He's a smart, educated fan, so he knows that he's old enough too to understand. Like a younger Packers fan, they don't know from what it's like to not have a quarterback and how long it could take and how hard it could be to find one.
Right.
But like an older, experienced fan knows. They know. They're like, oh my God. Yeah, even if Jordan Love is good, even if an average quarterback, it's going to feel like crap compared to what they had. And if he's not, he doesn't work out, and they're just another team now for the next 10 years searching for their quarterback. You know, for the Jets, it's been even longer. So they, you know, an older, experienced fan, they're concerned and worried and upset because it's such a treasure to find that quarterback. And, you know, as excited I am about Aaron Rodgers, we still don't know that treasure. Because we're going to get Aaron Rodgers for 1, maybe 2 years. And it'll be great for 1 or 2 years. But we still don't know that feeling of drafting an Aaron Rodgers, of drafting a John Elway, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, any list of guys. Like even a Matt Ryan in his prime would be great for us and the best we ever did. You know, like we never had that. And I still want that experience. Like right now, I'm going to enjoy the Aaron Rodgers thing, pray for a Super Bowl, you know, like no other, you know. But at the end of the day, it's still wondering when we're going to get our time. When it was like, I thought that's what Zach was going to be. When are we going to get our pick that becomes a great quarterback? When are we going to get that, where we get to have 10 years, 15 years of great quarterback play?
I still find it very hard to believe that Joe Douglas would not be willing to make this trade if he didn't have a very strong level of confidence that Aaron Rodgers would not commit to play for the New York Jets for multiple seasons. I can't imagine that he would go through all this trouble and all this aggravation to be in the exact same position in 12 months. It just would not make sense. It doesn't make business sense. You can't commit everything to 1 year. Joe Douglas knows he's been here for a couple of years now. Now, Joe Douglas has done a lot of things right. The one thing we haven't seen are victories. We haven't seen that. We have not seen even a 500 season at this point. He knows that the results have to come. He knows how impatient this fan base is, and the owner has said himself, he's anxious. And when Woody gets anxious, I get nervous.
Yeah.
Hey, Woody can get anxious all he wants, just as long as he's not making decisions in his state of anxiety. Okay, that's how I'm going to put that. And I, by the way, on a side note, as far as Woody goes, the Jets can absolutely win with Woody Johnson as the owner. I still see people complaining, the Jets can never win. I don't like the Johnsons. The Jets can't win without the Johnsons as the owners. They made it to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row with him as the owner. Are we forgetting that? As long as you hire the right people and you get out of the way and allow them to do their thing and are willing to spend money, that's all it really takes as the owner.
The Johnsons have done nothing wrong in the last few years. You
Correct.
can only go by, it's like, what have you done for me lately? They've not done anything to hurt the team lately.
Since hiring Gase. Since hiring Adam Gase.
Right,
yeah.
since hiring Gase, that was the brother. But I'm saying it's getting once they got Gase out of here and JD took over, they've been fine owners. They haven't done anything that we could see. There's no evidence they've done anything wrong. And the reality is, if when the Aaron Rodgers deal gets done, we really are a contender for the Super Bowl. So you could sit there and say whoever the owners are. I mean, it's like if we come back with the same type of defense that we had last year, if we come in, I think it's going to be better. I really do. I think more guys are going to know the system. I think I think they're settling into a Robert Saleh defense, which is going to be a top 5 NFL defense year after year. That's who Saleh is. That's his track record. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. He knows the scheme he likes to run. He found a guy who knows how to run it, who's trained well, that's in the same mindset. And that's it. I think we're going to be a team with a very good defense. And now you're going to throw Aaron Rodgers in there, and you got these young studs. Obviously, it would be a shame if Rodgers played only 1 year and Breece Hall took a year to get back to where he was. That would be a shame because I really want to see a top shelf Breece Hall, the way he was last year before he got hurt, combined with Aaron Rodgers. I really want to see that because that to me is so dangerous. That's so scary. I would be so scared for the other team. You're going to play the Jets. You already had our defense was already something to be reckoned with. You already had a deal with a defense that wasn't giving up a lot of points or yards. Now you're going to have to sit there and deal with Aaron Rodgers, dishing the ball out to Garrett Wilson and Lazard and whoever else we end up throwing in there. And if Breece Hall comes back healthy, we are potent. We are absolutely potent. I have no doubt or fear that we're not going to address offensive line in the draft. So and I know with AVT coming back healthy, with Becton looking fit and in shape, I have this belief he's going to come back and be strong. Dwayne looks fine, and he's going to be healthy. Last year he was playing injured all year. He won't be now. I feel like we're going to, after the draft, we're going to see the foundation of a very good offensive line, and not only very good, but with depth. When you have a guy like Max Mitchell, who you don't even expect to start, who played as a rookie the way Max Mitchell played, you got to be excited.
This is true. And speaking of Max Mitchell, hi Tigo, I see you in the chat. But I got to go back to what you said about the defense, that you feel that they could take a step up. It's very interesting because there is definitely room for this defense to improve from last season in my mind. Now, if I had to give you a reason why I feel optimistic about it, is with this offense, if they're getting ahead of teams and it's going to force other teams to play from behind. Think about it. If the Jets are getting ahead, other teams got to play from behind. They got to go to the pass. That plays right into our strengths, the pass rush and the cover cornerbacks. That's when you can start to see some interceptions, improvement on third down because you're forcing third and longs. Last year, third downs, that was a problem. We didn't turn the other team over. We averaged less than 1 turnover per game. things like that can make a big difference. I would say if there's one thing I would like to see the tackling be a little bit better this season, and there's certain players that we can point to in that respect. We don't need to mention Jordan Whitehead by name, but at this point, I'm starting to think he is going to be on this team. I'm feeling more and more like it's going to happen. But we'll see what happens in the draft. Maybe they'll draft a free safety to complement Chuck Clark, and maybe they'll be able to let Whitehead go or trade him for a pick. And if that happens, I'm all for it. But yeah, there are spots where this defense can get better. But I think this year they're going to be in a position where they don't have to carry the offense like they did last season. That's what I'm most excited about for the defense.
Well, let's see, because I agree. I think everyone was worried that we're not going to run it back with the defense. We're not going to be the same on defense. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We just went from 32nd to like the top 5. I mean, this is who Salah is. Can't you see the pattern? Can't you see who this guy is? But I want to see if this guy agrees with us. I got a surprise guest here, Adam. He's not really that much of a surprise. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Is our defense going to potentially be better this year, Tigo?
I don't know how much better our defense can get. And like, I was on board, and you and I had this argument discussion, whatever you want to call it, in our DMs where we were talking about Philly right before free agency started. And I said, there's no way Philly is going to be able to run it back because they're just going to lose so many people. And then they brought everyone back. They kept everybody that mattered. Losing CJ Gardner-Johnson literally doesn't matter. He was the worst player on the best defense in the NFL. And that's saying something because everyone was like in love with him. I never understood that. But there's that. They kept both of their corners, which was the second best corner duo in the NFL behind only Sauce and DJ. They brought almost everybody back on that defensive line. So, like, according to DVOA, the New York Jets defense was number 2 in the NFL behind only the Philadelphia Eagles. So the expectation that we're going to get better is kind of hard. Are they going to stay the same? Absolutely. I think they stay the same, which is still the second best defense in the NFL. But like, who did we lose? The 2 worst players on our defense in LaMarcus Joyner and like,
Shep.
I don't want to say worst, right? We lost
Shep.
LaMarcus Joyner. Who cares? And then what? Like, we're not going to bring Quan Alexander, rotational linebacker. Okay, that's fine. And we'll replace Sheldon Rankins' production with like insert, I don't know, go get Puna Ford. I know a lot of people are in on him.
Go get Puna Ford. Go get Shelby Harris. One of those 2 guys.
Yeah, like there's guys out there. And like, remember, we don't need like a monster next to Quinnen. Quinnen is the monster. He's the boogeyman. He's the guy that offensive coordinators have nightmares and they just wake up screaming, Quinnen is going to ruin my game. Like, that's what he is. So just get Guy next to him. We were all ready to cut Sheldon Rankins at the beginning of the year, and now he's making $11 million for Houston. Come on.
I don't hate you, Tyson. I don't know what you're talking about.
Tyson, I don't know you.
I'm not trying to insult him and say I don't know him. I'm just saying I don't hate you. I just don't hate it.
Tyson, do you have any aliases that start with the letter J or something like that?
Right. Now, if your name was J. Cole.
I'm curious.
But no, Tyson, I don't hate you, man. I don't hate you. You got me wrong.
No.
I might get annoyed. Look, on any given night, I might get annoyed. I might say something. I might even yell and scream. But I don't hate anybody. Not over football. Sorry.
In a sports sense, the only people I hate are like Tom Brady and Brady fanboys and those types of people. That's about it.
Yeah. So Tigo, are you changing your thought process about the Eagles and what they could do this year based on their
the fact that they kept everybody? Yeah. I thought they would. I didn't think they were going to bring everybody back on the defensive line. I thought they were going to lose one of Bradbury or Slay. They kept both of those guys back. They still have like and here's the thing: the guys that they
TJ Edwards,
lose,
though, they did lose Edwards,
but they have those replacements in the pipeline. Remember, they have Nakobe Dean,
right? And they got that defensive tackle who's going to be
and they got
Davis?
Not Wyatt because Wyatt went to Green Bay. Who's the other one?
Who's that tackle they got in
Jordan Davis? You're talking
Jordan Davis. Yeah, he's going to be a stud.
Like they got
Awesome.
Davis. Yeah, and so like I said, it's just like yes, they lost some guy because they lost both of their tackles, their linebackers, whatever. But they have the replacements in the building. That's insane to me. Like that they were able to run it back. And now the real question is how much of the defensive coordinator, like they lost him. Obviously, he's head coaching. I forget where he went.
Arizona.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Why
The
would you
most
take
hated
that job?
coach, the most hated defensive coordinator in football. I could tell you because I listened to Philly radio after the Super Bowl. They were killing that guy, and maybe the most dysfunctional franchise in football hires him as their head coach the same week. Hysterical.
So
Absolutely
funny.
hysterical.
It's just absolutely insane. Like they were able to keep everybody, and then their replacements and the guys that they have coming in are arguably like I have more confidence in their safety room this year than I do in the safety room that they had last year. They kept Bradbury and Slay and Maddox, and they brought back Cox and all. Like it's insane what the Eagles were able to do, and
Kelsey.
And don't they have 2 draft picks in the first round this year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have that's why they have 10 and then they have 20, right? No,
Wow.
not 20. You have 10 and then they have 30.
Wow. Still,
Right?
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Would it be 31 because they were in the Super Bowl, or was that traded?
No,
Oh, that's right, 30 because
Miami.
forfeited their
Miami.
pick. That's
So
right.
technically you're
Yeah.
right. Technically you're right because I think they have what? I think it's like 19 is what Miami should have had, right? So technically the draft is going to go 17, 18, 20. It'll just skip Miami's number. It's not-
Exactly.
20 doesn't become 19 to make everything easier, but I don't count Miami, so I said 30. They are 31 because they lost in the Super Bowl. Like, it's one of those things where they legitimately have the opportunity to just take a running back. Like, I think they're going to take Bijan Robinson at 10.
Can you? I look better than Buffalo.
Well, I don't think Bijan ever makes it to Buffalo. If Buffalo wants him, they're going to have to trade up for him. I think that there are teams that look at Bijan Robinson and they're like, yeah, we might be a Bijan Robinson away from being competitive. Like Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards haven't been able to stay healthy. And I was talking about this or mentioned it to New York Jets fan in the chat, right? Like where it's just like it takes a year. Like it takes almost 2 years to recover from that ACL and meniscus compounding injury in the leg, and that's what I'm worried about with Brees because we saw it with, the guy in the Giants that I just blanked on his name, Saquon, and then J.K. Dobbins last year looked atrocious and he couldn't stay on the field.
He did.
Same
And
injuries.
remember, weeks leading into the season, he was tweeting, "I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play. Activate me." He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready till like close to December, like where he was looking even close to the same J.K. Dobbins, and even that was pushing it. Now, not every ACL tear is the same. I mean, for crying out loud, Rod Woodson tore his ACL, Jerry Rice tore his ACL. They got their passes to come back in 4 or 5 months. They came back in practically no time, and this was years ago before the medicine that we have today and the rehab and the therapy and the technology that we have now. So not all ACL tears are the same recovery time. I just want to point that out.
But it's not. The thing is if it was just an ACL tear, I'd be like, yeah, no, he's back. It's the compounding ACL and the meniscus. That's what concerns me. That's why I would not be surprised if come day 3 of the draft, the New York Jets select running back, insert name from insert school here. Like, I would not be surprised because why are you going to rush him back when you don't need to?
They'll just get a guy in an undrafted man, just like they did with your boy Bam. They'll just get an undrafted.
Yeah, but Bam fell off hard at the end of the year. Like he fell off hard, and Michael Carter was a non-factor last year.
But if there's a position that you could get as an undrafted free agent, it's probably running back.
Yes, you're totally right. But in this year's class, where there's so many good running, did you see what Israel Abanikanda did for Pitt at their pro day today?
I can't quite say I was paying attention to that. I might have been working.
It was. I didn't pay attention.
I wasn't watching.
I watched it back. No, I wasn't.
Dude.
I didn't pay attention. I have friends who are Pitt fans, and they mentioned it. He ran. These are unofficial times because it was all like clickers. But his 40-yard dash was somewhere in the 4.26 to 4.32 range.
Doesn't suck.
No.
That's insane speed. Like,
That's-
and again, that's a guy that you can get in the 4th round.
Yeah,
Rashawn Johnson is a guy that I'm starting to build up a hard on for. The running back that was behind Bijan at Texas. I honestly think that if he would have transferred out of Texas and gone to a different school where he was running back 1, we would be talking about him in a much, much higher light. But
I
he
gotta
played
say,
behind
I've
Bijan.
been paying practically no attention to the running backs because I don't see us drafting one. Really, there's certain positions I just have not been looking at as far as the draft goes, and running back is one. I figured if we want to get somebody with depth super late, we could do it, but we know what our needs are. We don't have a lot of them, but they are very clear, and we know what has to be addressed. That's why when we do mock drafts, I hate to say it, it's becoming a little bit of a boring exercise. It's the same picks, and it's the same basic group of players all the way through. 4 more weeks of that still left to go.
And my thing that I go about this is like everybody keeps drafting a safety. I don't think the Jets are taking a safety.
You know,
I
Frankie
feel
said I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Frankie said the exact same thing last year about safety and linebacker. He turned out to be exactly right. So it'd be interesting if you turned out to be right about this also.
I don't think this staff dislikes our safety/linebacker room as much. Linebacker, I think we take one because I don't think we're going to get to bring Quan back. I think Quan is a
right. If we don't bring Quan back, then we need a coverage linebacker. But there's a few out there that really would be a great scheme fit for us. But the safety thing, I agree 100%. I'm like, I'm thinking about it. We're not cutting, based on what Saleh said, we're not cutting Jordan Whitehead. Saleh's excited about his second year in the system. Now, I know some people are saying, Jeremy, what does the system have to do with missing tackles? But I don't think they see it that way. I know he missed some tackles. I think they think that's coachable and they're gonna work on him just wrapping his arms or whatever. Saleh seemed genuinely excited about Whitehead. They got Clark. We know they love Tony Adams. We know they love him. It wouldn't shock me if we take a depth tackle, if we're ready to move on from Ashton Davis or whatever it is. Like, it wouldn't shock me. But I don't think it's a need. Like, it's not something where it's like, oh, there's no way they're going to go in to the draft. Like we're all acting like when we pick, safety's one of the big needs. Like, we're all looking for the safety,
Yeah.
I don't know if the Jets are going in there looking for the safety. Now, if the value's there in the 4th or 5th round, fine. But I just don't know. I don't think it's going to be it's not like center. It's not like tackle. And I don't think, like what Tigo said, I don't think it's like linebacker and defensive tackle. I mean, I think those are the 4 positions that we really have a need.
Mm-hmm.
This organization subscribes to a need that certain positions matter the most. And if those positions work out well, other positions will benefit as a result. And safety is the prime example of that. Even if it were to fall their way, I'm thinking more and more they are not going to consider one probably until day 3, especially if they have to trade one of those second-round picks away to get Aaron Rodgers. It'll prioritize the trenches that much more. Joe Douglas will always be about the trenches, and he's smart to do that, unlike prior general managers that we've had who would just take the best player that's on the board regardless of the position and regardless of organizational need.
It's interesting because, like, I also look at defensive tackle as a position that we might not draft this year. This class is not good at defensive tackle, and we can't afford to use a 1st or a 2nd round pick as of right now. Like, would I want to take Kalijah Cansey in the 1st at 13? Absolutely. But can I really do that if Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright or Anton Harrison is on the board staring at Makai Becton and Dwayne Brown as my starting tackles? I can't do that knowing that we're about to go get Aaron Rodgers. So then you'd go there. And, like, I'm happy that we brought in Schweitzer and Cologne, right, as depth interior offensive linemen. I hope to God I never have to see Schweitzer start because he's our starting center as of right now. So second round, the 1st and 2nd round picks are almost written in stone as the offensive tackle in the center. And so then we don't have a 3rd round pick. So now you're taking a defensive tackle in the 4th round. And I just look at it and I go, is that guy really going to be? I look at it and I was like, if we can go get, like, there's so many guys that are available in this free agency class that are defensive tackles that aren't going to be that expensive. Go get me a tandem of, like, Poona Ford and Linval Joseph. And there you go. We got 5 DTs now. They're all going to be relatively cheap. Or go get the 2 guys that came from Philly, Linval and Ndamukong Suh. They're both late in their careers. They both cost $2 million. There you go. For $4 million, you just added 2 defensive tackles, and you no longer need to draft them.
And consider Shelby, like I said earlier, Shelby Harris, 18th in run stop rate last season. That's another guy I would take. Poona Ford will be a good workman-like defensive tackle. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to be flashy, but we don't need flashy. We just need capable around the great talent that's going to be around him. Carl Lawson's going to be on this team. I think at this point we have to, whether we love it, some people are going to love it, some people don't love it as much, but you know what? We talk about a year coming off surgery for Breece Hall. Why should it be any different for Carl Lawson? A year coming off 2 Achilles surgeries, as it turned out. It was 2 that he wound up having.
Yeah,
why?
It's not like he played poorly. He might not.
No, he
have
didn't.
Big numbers. He didn't play poorly.
He was good. He was good. He was
money.
Good.
It's the money.
It's
Everyone
the
looks at it. It's the money, and it's not just the money. It's the money, and when you look at the rest of the roster, you just picked Jermaine Johnson, and that's the thing. Because you picked Jermaine Johnson, because everybody's in love with Bryce Huff, because Michael Clemens is the scariest human being on the planet, not named John Wick. Like, those are the reasons that you're excited. It has nothing to do with his play and everything to do with it's what I was saying last year when I said we should trade Bryce Hall before it's too late. Because he would never see the field and somebody would have valued him. And what happened? The one time he saw the field, he got a touchdown thrown in, but he never saw the field for the rest of the year, really. Why? Because we were playing Brandon Echols. We were doing those things, and Echols looked good, and he looked fine, and thankfully we didn't have any injuries in the quarterback room, and that's the situation. It's this: when you're insanely deep at a position, you can feel comfortable saying, you know what, we can move on from a guy who's good because we have guys who are behind him who can be great. And it's, yeah. Again, he's not going anywhere.
Now, here's a legitimate question, because I want to know the answer to this. If we're not cutting Corey Davis and we're not cutting Carl Lawson, where the hell is the money coming from? Like, I know we restructured some deals, but like, where's all the money coming from that we're talking about getting all these players? And I know that, Tigo, you're talking about guys that are going to be $2 million players I'm not worried about. But we were talking to, like if we're talking to Odell Beckham, he's not, like, a lot of fans are like really want that to happen. How are we even talking to him? I mean, he's going to be at least 8 to 10 million. Like, where's that going to come from?
Oh, if OBJ should not get anywhere near that money, 8 to 10 million for OBJ after not playing for a year, it's going to be a $4 million contract for $4 million worth of incentives. And here's the thing.
It has to be incentive laden. It has to be an incentive laden contract.
Insanely incentive laden. And here's the thing that people forget. Void years exist. We can give a guy a 2-year deal with 3 years of void years on the back end and a relatively large signing bonus to turn a $3 million contract into a $600,000 contract. And yeah, you'll take a small dead cap hit in later years, but like, we have a massive amount of cap for next year. We should be looking at maybe eating some of that now. Like, but don't forget, we can still restructure CJ Mosley. We can still restructure Dwayne Brown. We can still extend and sign Carl Lawson, like, which I think ultimately ends up happening. We can extend Carl Lawson and lowering his $15 million cap hit. We can, again, just because Corey Davis is on the team right now doesn't mean he will be as time goes on, right? And you can cut him now or you can cut him later and still save $11 million. I don't expect Jordan Whitehead to play at $10 million. That's a real thing. Like, we might extend Jordan Whitehead and lower his number. There is so much opportunity to create money in this, still on the team right now, that we can create easily just by I'm not even cutting anybody or trading anybody or just by restructuring CJ and Dwayne Brown. We can save $15 million.
There are always ways to do it. There are always ways to
create money.
There's plenty of time. We have months to create cap space. You can always get the guys and create the space later. It's fine.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I know it's possible because New Orleans. I mean, we watch the Saints. I mean, it's like ridiculous. It's like the Saints are just like they get whatever they want.
The
you
Saints
know?
get their own cap, right? There's the NFL cap, then there's the Saints cap. It's like up here.
So there's obviously
They just provide Roger Goodell enough hurricanes. He raises their cap. That's what happens.
It's one of those things where like that's I think is the perfect example of like, yeah, like you don't need to worry about it. Derek Carr in his first year is a $7 million cap hit.
$7 million cap hit. Oh my god!
He's got
that's
three
like
void years
20%
on the back end of the contract.
That's like 20% of Carson Wentz's cap hit. What that was last year, just by comparison.
So like,
it's just unbelievable.
There's so many places where we can create the money. You know, I don't expect a CJ restructuring. I expect a CJ extension. Right? I ultimately think that's what we're going to do. And I think that makes a ton of sense. Just retire a Jet. He was our best linebacker last year.
Don't we have to wait till like September 1st to do it though? Because it has to be the different calendar year for the season, like different season year.
Well, the new league
No, that's to restructure.
Right, for the restructure.
Okay.
Yeah, because we restructured him late last year to fit Dwayne Brown, I believe is what happened. You can offer a new contract at any point. Like, again, the rule that you're talking about makes sense, but it's like restructure to restructure has to be a full calendar year, and contract to contract has to be a full calendar year. But you can restructure somebody and then 6 months later give them a new contract.
I swear to you, the Mets will stop paying Bobby Bonilla his contract, but CJ Mosley will still be on the Jets when that happens. CJ's going to be a Jet longer than like Randy Rasmussen and Pat Leahy combined.
So yeah. Mark from Ashbury Park makes. He works for Vic's Pizza. I watched a review. David Portnoy from First Bite. I think it was called Vic's Pizza Restaurant in Bradley Beach or something, which I think is the Vic's that Mark works for. Okay. And it actually got like an outstanding, like an 8.3, which is great for David Portnoy. So if Mark is making that pizza, he's making some great pizza out there. And when I'm in New Jersey, I got to make my way up there and try it.
And that's in Asbury Park?
It's near Asbury Park, Bradley Beach or something.
Bradley Beach?
Something like that. But it's near Ashbury Park, and he makes pizza there. So Green Bean had it the other day. If it's the place I'm thinking about, if it's the same Vic's that I'm thinking about, it's like bar pie. So it's that really super thin crust bar pizza.
Yeah. In Chicago, that's called like a tavern pie.
Yes.
Yeah. The crust is fine. Here's the thing. Like a lot of those pies, they're so thin that there's no chew. It's all crunch. It's almost like eating like a crispy tortilla. It's just too thin. And then what I can't get behind is the freaking checkerboard cut where you got the big round pie, but you cut into like all these little squares.
Well, just don't put any of it down because Mark is offering us free pizza. So be quiet, Monty.
That's good. Yeah, Mark, just don't cut a freaking round pie into like a little dinky square. So I got a little piece like that big that should have a little sparkly toothpick, like it's a freaking hors d'oeuvre. I mean, it's an abomination right there. David Portnoy right there should give it like negative points just for that square cut on a round pizza. Again, square cut on a rectangular pizza, totally get it, fine. But on a round pizza, stop. Not that I'm opinionated on this.
Not too much.
Oh boy.
I think Dom C was saying something about the. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you extend his contract, it's different than restructure. But I think Dom C was disagreeing with that, so I don't know. But anyway,
from my understanding, you can extend a player even after you've restructured him, like because it's a whole new contract.
Yeah, but can you take money off of what you owe? Like, because then it's a restructure. If you extend them, okay, I'm adding more years to your contract, but what does that have to do with taking away, taking money off of what he's owed this year? That's a restructure. If you take money, if you're taking money off of what's owed him this year, that is literally the definition of a restructure, right? Because you could add years to a contract. You could add years.
Yeah, but you would be writing up a whole new contract, right?
Huh?
That's what I think is because you'd be writing up a whole new contract. You're not what the Jets did when we restructured him was we added 2 void years. And what I'm saying is, what if we turned those 2 void years into real years? right?
Yeah,
And say,
I'm
like,
not arguing with you. I'm just saying.
I'm just
I don't
thinking
know.
out loud.
Yeah.
Because like, wouldn't that? Because I guess what you're saying is right. It would be a new, like, even with an extension, even if we gave him a new contract.
Yeah, I think that might be considered a restructure. That's what I'm thinking. But like, I mean, either way, I understand what you're saying. Like, because there's other guys too. We're talking about Carl Lawson. We're talking about Corey Davis. There's all these different players where there's different ways to manipulate and do things, right? Like adding void years, and there's all these different weird things we can do to make money. I mean, all you have to do is just look at what the Saints did. Like, if you don't, as a GM, if you don't know how to do it, just study the New Orleans Saints, because apparently they know exactly how to do it. But as was said in the chat, there's going to be a year where the Saints are 150 million over the cap, and they're just going to have to cut the entire team and take tons of dead cap hit and just suck for 2 years and just live in hell. And then they'll start the whole process over again. Maybe that's okay with them. Maybe that's,
I mean, they may have to play their home games literally on Bourbon Street. They may have to move out of the Superdome or something. I mean, it's going to be bad. One of these years, it's going to happen.
I want to say hello.
Hey, Chiefs Live.
Chiefs Live. Hey, Dom. Dom is going on a cruise, Royal Caribbean. I just want to give him quick advice. Dom, when you go on that cruise, don't bother with the regular dining room food. That's gross. Go to their specialty restaurants. The first night, make all your reservations. Eat in the freaking steakhouses. If they have an Italian restaurant, an Asian place, just make all your reservations for every dinner. You pay extra. It's like $20 a person. When you look at the total cost of your trip and then you add the $20 per person and what that means to the total cost of your vacation, it's worth it, because you're going to eat good dinner every night. Don't eat in that regular dining room, bro. Don't do it, bro. Eat in the
regular
steakhouse.
dining room's not that bad. Don't go to the buffet.
Be careful of the buffet, but the actual
Yeah.
like regular restaurant, those. I've been on Royal Caribbean a couple of times, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, but the fancy, the special restaurants that you pay for,
they're
are
fantastic.
Bougie ones,
they're so worth the money, because it's like we were like $20 extra, but we get to eat in like a real steakhouse. You know, like, it's so worth it.
I've been there, and to be honest with you, I never felt that those restaurants were that much more worth it than just the regular dining room where you have like the service. Anyway, in my experience, I did not sense that much of a difference. But that's me.
No, there is a difference. It's just I'd rather put that money to other things.
Yeah, it's waiter service. Yeah.
Like,
I got to make sure I got my drink. I got to have the full drink package going on.
Yeah, like,
you know?
would I rather have the drink package or go to the steakhouse and then
drink
the Italian place and then the
package?
sushi
Thank
place?
you.
Like, well, I'll take the drink package.
I do both, because I'm on vacation, baby. It's vacation.
Yeah, but then it's just like it's like, do you then want to do an excursion? It's just about where your money is going.
An excursion too. You got to factor that.
But I got to tell you,
when I was in the Mediterranean, their money had to be saved for the excursions. I mean, there were things I had to see. So.
But I'll tell you, me and my wife, we got so, like, with the food, we were like, when we went to certain, like when we were in Hawaii, I said, screw that. There's a Zippy's near the port. We're going to Zippy's. Like, we're going to do Hawaii. We're in port, and there's a Zippy's. You know, it's a chain there of like diner type places. And they have amazing fried chicken and chili and all these good things. We're going to do that. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm because how often am I there? But like, to each his own. We all value what we do with our money differently, and how we spend it. It's fine. I'm a foodie. Yeah. To me, it all goes to the best food. To me, it's all about the food.
I mean, even some of those buffets, like I would say, the buffets that I went to on the cruise, I mean, I've seen some carving stations there, and blow me up on those carving stations. I am as happy as can be.
Well, I'll tell you, in every resort I've ever, like in Mexico, when I'm in the resorts that are all inclusive for food and cruise ships, the one thing I noticed is the best meal is breakfast.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's always the best meal, because you can't, there's a fresh omelet station. Like, so you could, I mean, eggs or eggs, so you could always do good at breakfast,
That is true, and I will pay the extra money to get that fresh OJ. If I want that fresh OJ with a little pulp in it, don't give me that freaking sour tang. That's an abomination. I will pay the extra money for the fresh freaking OJ. That's what it's all about for breakfast for me. Tigo, stop shaking your head.
I'm not paying for orange juice. I'm not paying for.
I'm paying for the freaking
Yeah.
fresh OJ.
Give me an ice cold water and I'm good. I'm not paying
Okay.
for orange juice, especially not with floaty bits in it. You want orange phlegm in it?
Oh no, yeah.
I asked for a
I want
beverage, not a soup.
brother. I want texture, my friend. And going back to that one chat, yes, I've been to Costa Rica. Oh my gosh, that is an underrated gem for travel. You get good value. Just make sure you're driving on the paved roads, and if they offer you a GPS, take it. Because if you start driving on the unpaved roads, you feel like you're driving on the freaking moon with all the craters on it. You're going on MSC late. What does he mean by MSC?
I don't know, but my advice is if I'm in Europe, unless you're on some expensive cruise where the food's amazing and they have like a real chef. If I'm in Europe, I'm eating in the restaurants in Europe.
Do it, yeah.
I mean,
I hope you're going on the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
because
if
that is amazing.
If you're in Greece and you're at port, I mean, unless it's spectacular on that ship, don't you want to go into a Greek cafe and get the spinach pie and get the Greek salad? You got it. So my advice is
you go to Europe and you eat a salad, straight to jail.
If you're
straight to jail,
in Greece,
straight to jail.
Greek salad.
I don't care. I went to Greece. I didn't eat a single thing that was green. Not one thing that was green. Dead
that
animals.
includes the
You eat
spinach
dead
pie,
animals.
apparently.
Dead animals. That's what you're there to eat. Eat their dead animals. That's why you go. If you eat a salad in Europe, straight to jail.
Tigo, just make that a T-shirt. Eat their dead animals. The dread slogan of 2023: Eat their dead animals.
I hate salad. I'm not a salad guy at all. But there's a Greek cafe in upstate New York, in Liberty, New York, a place called Yasu. It's me and my wife's favorite restaurant in the world. It's this guy from Greece. He literally, it's like he ripped it out of Greece and put it in Liberty, New York. And I'm telling you, I don't like salad, but I eat his salad because it's great. It's ridiculous how good the salad is.
You go back home and you eat a salad, that's fine. You go to Greece and eat a salad, straight to jail.
Well, spinach pie for me anyway, though. I said.
And remember, in Europe, they don't have rights, right? So they can just take you straight to jail. So
in Europe, they don't have rights. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know that much about Greece. I'll have to ask Frankie.
How many euros does it take to get bailed out of jail? That's my question.
You don't get bailed out. You disappear into Siberia.
But somebody said lamb, and that's definitely
Europe
something.
Is just a pipeline.
Definitely do lamb in Greece. There's no question about that.
Amen. Give me the lamb. Yeah, I'm making my leg of lamb every Easter. I don't ever give me a ham. I'm going lamb every single Easter. No way around it.
My favorite when we went to.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I was going to say it's really good as a shank. You know, like where it's that tender meat that comes right off the bone.
Oh, I'll make it tender regardless. That no problem. No,
that sounded way more sexual than it needed to be. But when I went to Greece, like my wife tried doing some crap like that, where she was just like, "Oh, I'm not that hungry, blah blah blah. I'm just gonna get a soup." I was like, "We didn't come to Greece for you to eat a soup. I don't care if you don't eat it.
Do you actually eat a soup?
You get the point." To drink dirty water. You didn't come here to drink dirty water because that's all soup is.
It just needed Tigo. It just needed a little bit of orange juice pulp in the soup. That would have fixed it.
Like
Tigo likes soup.
It's just like, dude, go get you're in. And it was right at we went to Greece, and like right after the fall, like where they fell apart and they were back on like the come up. They were trying to like fix themselves, and I was just like, we don't know if this is going to be around for that much longer. Like Greece might turn into like the Italy East or whatever, like when they get invaded. Like we have no idea what's going to happen here. Like you're here, eat it. Or like my wife tried to have like a chowder or something when we went to Italy. I was like, why? We're in Italy. Like eat carbs. Put carbs into your face right now.
Pizza, gelato, repeat. Pizza, gelato, repeat. And that's in one afternoon, by the way. You do it like 3 times an afternoon when you're in Italy.
Yeah, you don't go on a diet when you're in Italy. It's just not worth it. But back to the north. But the advice basically was, and again, I don't. They're like there's Viking cruises. There's cruise ships that have private chefs. That whole thing. But I mean, for the most part, like the typical cruise ship in Europe, anytime you're in a port. I don't care that you have to pay extra and the food's free on the ship. You got to take advantage when you're in Europe. You got to go into the restaurants in Europe. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, it's special, man. The family ran and they're fresh and It's like a different level. Like when we were in Italy, me and my wife, any random place, except for like right by the museum, like we're in a tourist trap, like right in the center of like their Times Square. But if you just walk into like we'd walk 10, 15 blocks, so just walking through Florence, and we just go into a residential neighborhood, and there's like a little small restaurant in the
They
corner.
shouldn't speak English.
And right, they shouldn't speak English. And you walk in, and it's the best experience of your life. I mean, it's just
That's right. Before you order, they start bringing food out as soon as you sit down. There's like 6 courses before you actually order. That's how you know you're in the right freaking place.
That's how you know you're in the right place.
You should have to point at pictures to order your food, and that's when you know that it's a good time. Like
I worked in an Italian restaurant, so I know I don't need the English translation. I don't need the English translation for most of the places, for most of the food. So
it was so fascinating when I was in Argentina years ago. Buenos Aires was really nice also, but it's very European in its nature. We went to this one pizza restaurant, and you have the menus in Spanish. You have the Spanish translation, then the Italian translation. So I figured, well, I took like 2 years of Spanish, and I am Italian, so somewhere in the middle, I think I can figure out what they're actually telling me.
They're incredibly.
That's what hooked me on red wine. I was never a wine drinker until I went to Argentina in my late 20s. Now it's hard for me to have a steak without red wine.
Fun fact about Argentina: they are technically still at war with Great Britain.
Leroy, we apologize, but don't apologize.
You know who shouldn't watch our show? You know who shouldn't watch our show? It would be very dangerous. Makai Becton. Makai Becton, if you ever turn on my show, shut it off.
Makai, if you're watching, buffets are horrible. Don't go on cruises. They suck. Just eat the salad when you go to Europe.
I still don't understand that narrative. Like, he was never, like, overweight for his standard. This is the first time where he's underweight for what his standard is. Like,
but I like
never understood that one.
I like it, though. He looks like an animal. He looks like he's going to dominate.
That picture of him next to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, my God.
That broke me. How are you that big? You shouldn't be that large.
Becton Schwarzenegger looked ordinary.
Yes.
And those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, we never thought in our lives that we would say that.
I want to see him and The Rock next to each other now.
Oh,
I know, right? I just
if you smell what Makai is cooking.
I mean, I don't even know if it's considered a hot take at this point or a big deal, whatever. But really, this year, like with everything that's going on, my thing for this year is I'm calling out that this is going to be an insanely great year for Makai Becton. Really, I believe it.
So great that we might lose him. I don't know what
I think he's going to come out and pancake people. I think he's going to be amazing.
I have a video coming out tomorrow.
Don't tell Makai Becton about pancakes. That's dangerous.
I have a video coming out tomorrow about Makai, and it is literally on the basis of we should take his 5th-year option. It's the whole. I'm not gonna go into it anymore because obviously it'll ruin the video for tomorrow. And you should watch my video tomorrow. But like, the more I keep seeing it, and now that I've seen the dates of when the Jets off-season practices are going to be, you only have to pick up the 5th-year option by May 1st. We should know what he is by May 1st.
I hope they pick it up.
And it's a $13 million contract. That's it. Look,
I say you pick it up.
I do too. I make the argument for
want them
in
to.
about 6 minutes. In about 6 minutes, I make that argument.
I want him to.
I'm telling you, and you're right. They're going to have some time to look at him. He's at the facility. They're seeing him every day, but like to see him on the field a little bit might be helpful. But it's a gamble I want to take, man. I just watching his tape, I would take that gamble.
And then I'm really done, and then I'm going to move the conversation away from this topic. But the thing that really gets me is like, what happens? Let's say Makai Becton plays isn't that great, and you've taken his 5th-year option. Is Makai Becton as your swing tackle next year that bad of an idea as the backup? Is that really like? Because we're going to take a tackle, right? Let's say it's Broderick Jones, or let's say it's Darnell Wright. Fantastic. So you got to get a left tackle, whatever. But you're not going to have Dwayne Brown on the books that year. You could go into free agency and pay a guy possibly or whatever like that. And now you have Darnell Wright, insert free agent left tackle, and then your backup tackles are Makai Becton and Max Mitchell. Like And that's worst case scenario with Makai. You know what I mean? And I don't think we're going to see that.
Best case, he's going to freaking dominate.
Yeah, best case, he wins the job at left tackle right out of camp. And now we're looking at Dwayne Brown and being like, dude, he's 23 years old. And he's insane. He's like, better than you are right now. You're 39. I can't not play him at left tackle. I need you to learn right tackle. Like, it's Aaron Rodgers. What are we going to do? Like, I want that left tackle spot to be a problem for the New York Jets in the sense of, like, we have 3 guys that can play that job so well. Who do we take? Like, who do we put there?
Right.
I have no idea.
I mean, based on the amount of injuries that we sustained last year,
exactly,
and the year before that, we have to go in with the attitude that we need 4 guys that we can trust.
You can't have enough. It's like starting pitchers in baseball. You have to go in with 8 or 9 guys because you're going to need that many to get through the whole season.
Yeah.
And until proven otherwise, that's the same mentality the Jets have to have with their offensive tackles.
What's going on, Jeremy? I hope when you say you got chills, you're just excited about the season and excited about, like, maybe the Mets, and that you don't got, like, the chills like you're sick. So don't scare me because I just went through COVID. So hopefully when you say chills, you mean the good kind of chills. But it's good to see you here, Jeremy. I appreciate you coming, hanging out in the chat. So look, I think that there's a possibility that our offensive line is going to be a strength because based on what we do in the draft. I mean, if we, like you said, if we get based on, and there's any one of those guys, right? I mean, I would love if we got Darnell, that'd be great, or Broderick, that would be great. And then you get the center, and we know there's 3 or 4 guys we all like and we all agree would be good picks at center. It'd be nice to get a veteran guy like Jones, though, for A-Rod year 1. Unless it's like Schmitz, then I don't care. If you get a guy that good,
top 4 guys, honestly.
Yeah. If you get a guy that good, I don't care so much.
Is it weird for me to say I feel like centers? I want to make sure they. By the way, why hasn't Connor McGovern been signed anywhere? Is anybody shocked that McGovern has not signed a contract? Not the one from Dallas that signed with Buffalo, but McGovern has not signed a deal. It's amazing.
This draft is so strong. I don't think it is. This draft is so strong at center.
But Bozeman
you can get a
signed.
starting center. He re-signed. He stayed.
I know, they signed contracts. They signed deals though. And McGovern feels like the one who is still on the market.
But like, if you look at those 2 scenarios, right? Mm-hmm. The Panthers aren't going to be able to get a center in the draft because they traded all of their picks to move up to 1. So you had to bring him back because you're not going to get the guy, right? Because you're not going to be able to get a center that's probably going to be able to start. And then if you look at Minnesota's drafting at the late part of the 2nd round. The chances that all 4 or 5 guys that you're comfortable with starting immediately, making it to the back end of the 2nd, that's a pretty heavy risk. So bringing them back, especially for Minnesota's case, where this seems to be like the last year of Kirk Cousins, which, by the way, sneaky story, watch out for Minnesota to trade for Trey Lance. I think that's going to happen, and soon.
Wow.
With all of that being said, if you look at the teams that need centers that didn't sign them, what do they all have in common? They're all picking in the top of the 2nd round. The Texans need a center. They didn't sign one. The Steelers need a center. They didn't sign one. The Jets need a center. They didn't sign one. What do they all have in common? They're drafting at the top of the 2nd round. The Giants desperately need a center. That's where JMS is going to go, by the way.
Yeah.
And there you go. Like, what do they all have in common?
I think Giants
be drafting.
I think the Giants. I still think Zay Flowers makes so much sense to the Giants. I really do. Makes it that far. I think Zay goes there.
Can you imagine how the dominoes are going to fall? I think that T goes right, though. I think there's going to be some sweet spot near the end of the 1st round, 2nd rounds, possibly, where you're just going to see 3 or 4 centers go in like 8 picks. Like, it's just going to be like boom, 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 boom. And like, we better be one of them. If we don't sign anybody, we better be one of them.
Schmitz, Whippler, Tippmann, one of those 3. I mean, those are the 3 I'm hoping for. One of the 3.
I would even take a Villa.
I'll take a Villa. I'll take a Villa.
A Villa's great.
A Villa too. I still have this mentality of him being a guard. I don't know why, but I still think of him as a guard more than I do.
He took a lot of his reps at the Senior Bowl at guard. He played center. He played center at TCU.
Well, what's nice about him is if you had him.
Let's see what Keith Carter says.
And then there was an injury, you might decide, well, who do we have it set? Because we got a couple of guys right now that can play center. You might say the best thing to do if a guard goes down is to put a Via there and then move in, and then put your backup center in, as opposed to a backup guard.
I would love to not. I hope it doesn't happen and we never have to see him. But if something happens to one of the guards, let's just put it. Let's say something happens to Laken Tomlinson, because I don't want anything to happen to AVT. If something, I'd be interested in seeing what Cologne is like with our offensive coaching staff and our system, because he was in his limited reps with Baltimore. He was nasty, man. He plays a very physical style of football, and I'd be very interested to see what he looks like lined up next to like a Makai Becton, who I have slotted in at right tackle right now. I think that would be such an interesting dynamic. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes another good point. Philly might take a center too.
Yeah, no,
replace Kelsey eventually.
Absolutely. It would not be a bad pick for them at all. To take a center.
Stromberg to Philly would make a ton of sense late.
Stromberg makes sense. I could see that one.
Like,
As a developmental center guy who sits for 1 year while Kelsey plays one more
Patterson,
season. That I can see. Patterson. Yeah. Oh, don't tell Rusty that. Tim Patterson should be the first pick in the draft overall. So
Rusty loves Patterson.
Oh my God, it's almost scary. It's like
I know. I see it.
It's stalker territory. It has been for a year and a half now.
Look, he might end up becoming a very good player. So he might be right.
For Rusty's sake, I hope so.
Yeah.
Like again, offensive linemen, you can see that like getting the guy in the first round isn't always a necessity. Like the Giants took Neal at the top of the first, and we took Max Mitchell in the fourth. Who was the better tackle last year? Objectively, it was Max. Like Evan Neal was one of the worst tackles in football last year. Mm-hmm. He was atrocious.
He had a horrible rookie season.
He was. Andrew Thomas started horrible. He turned it around. But yep, Neal was horrible last year.
But still, if you compare Max Mitchell in his play, in the amount of time,
I'll give Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell definitely gets the edge. I mean, most tackles.
Just like who that got taken in the second to was it the second or the third? That went to Seattle because they got two new tackles because they got
Cross and Lucas. Yeah, Cross and Lucas.
Abraham Lucas was taken like the third or the second round. He was better than Evan Neal. It just goes to show that like these tackles, you don't. This is where like I'm starting to open up to the idea of like, yes, I would love to get our center in this draft. But like I would love to be able to say like Juergens in the second, boom. There's another one. Like it's one of those things where I look at it and I go, like maybe give me Kalijah Cansey at 13.
Look. I think that there's like it's nothing wrong with, and it's very possible that we get, and it could go this way, that we take Cansey at 13, that we in the second round grab a tackle like one of those guys, the tier 2 guys, if they're there, and there's a chance, like let's assuming we gave away one of our number 2 picks, that like in the 4th round we grab some center that we like, and that we sign Jones or McGovern for a year or something and develop a center that's going to replace them. Like all this is very possible.
They did say specifically they were very interested in Ben Jones. So you wonder what the deciding factor is.
Keeping him off to the side to see what happens in the draft. Because like if JMS, and it's not going to happen, but if JMS is there at 42, it's hard to pass up that level of talent. If it goes JMS and Joe Tippmann are on the board, either one of them is on the board, I think it's really hard to pass that level of talent at that point.
As you would say, sprint to the podium.
Yeah, it's a position of need, and they're really, really good players. It's hard to pass on guys like that, especially from an organization that loves their centers. We turned them into deities. Man, like Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 does every single one of his shows in a Mangold jersey.
Yep, I do a lot of my videos in a Mangold jersey
for good reason.
Yeah,
I love me some Mangold. I screamed it in our DM. Give me my Mangold replacement or give me death. Like I just want this center. But it's just like every year we come up with an excuse to not take a center, and it's always like a good excuse to not take a center.
I know.
Except for when we passed up on Creed Humphrey, there was no excuse. We should have taken Creed
I was just
Humphrey.
thinking about Creed Humphrey as you said that, of course.
But like last year, okay, I'd rather have Brees than whatever center was taken in the second round or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I get some of the picks that we made, but it's just like this is another year where I look at it and I'm like, man, I know I bring a Jets fan home. Give me Whippler. I'll take it. I love the kid. Give me John Michael Schmitz. JMS, that abbreviation. Oh, can you imagine the chance after he's running up to the second level and pancaking a safety? Like, it'd be great.
JMS, AVT, JMS. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, the Jets will be selling freaking alphabet soup as part of their promotions if this keeps up.
It's just, sign me up.
Yeah, that was
we
crazy.
don't know either. We don't know how Trey Smith felt to you for crying out loud.
I mean, how the
Let
hell?
alone Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey falling that far was just
That was a
just
crime.
unbelievable.
Creed Humphrey going in the first that year.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
And
been.
for him
I
to
would
fall
have
to
not.
58?
I would not have been upset if we never made that trade for AVT because I didn't expect that trade.
Yep.
Creed Humphreys was on my list as the guy we might take in the first round. I couldn't believe it. I look. I know it's hindsight, but I would do anything to go back and instead of Elijah Moore, take Creed Humphrey in the second round.
In retrospect, of course, but
It's one of those things where it's just like, and then there again, there's so many things where like, it's one of the things that I go with when I go through my draft process, which is like, do you draft for this year, and do you take players that need to start right now, quote like right now, like they need to be starters? Or do you do the smart thing and continue drafting for 2 years from now? That's why you draft, right? You don't draft for this year, you draft for 2 years from now. Your team should never be in a position where you're filling a massive need in the draft kind of a thing, because you should be drafting best player available regardless of position. Like that's what you should be doing. But like I look at it and I go like offensive tackle at 13 makes a ton of sense because next year we have one tackle under contract, and that's Max Mitchell. As of right now, the only tackle that we have under contract next year is Max Mitchell. Because Dwayne Brown comes off the books and Makai Becton comes off the books. So, well, we need tackles for next year. But this year, we've got 3 guys. We've got 4 guys if you consider Elijah Vera Tucker. We've got guys that can play the position. So does like DT's a bigger need? So is like Kalijah Kancey worth it at 13?
Well,
it's a hard conversation to have.
It's hard to argue. I mean, there's a bunch of picks it's hard to argue, but when you talk about Kancey, imagining him lining up next to Q. I mean, man. I mean, geez, are you kidding me? I mean, that's just imagine Carl Lawson, Huff on both sides, like on a 3rd and 12. You got Carl Lawson and Huff. You got Q and Kancey in the middle. Oh my God!
And we're leaving out JFM and JJ on the side note, but you know, just saying, you can throw them in there too.
I know. Well, JJ to me is if I said on 2nd and 7.
Now JJ would, yeah. Like if it was that 3rd and 12, the real lineup that we're going is probably like Lawson, Huff, Quinnen, JFM, because you'll pump JFM inside for that pass rush skill. Like that's really probably what it ends up being.
Yeah,
but like if it's 2nd and 7 and you put that line out there, yeah, well, replace Huff with JFM or JJ, that would be lethal.
Yeah, I love JJ against the run. And I'm not saying he's not going to be a good pass rusher. I'm just saying right now he has 2 things I love about him. Like obviously he seals the edge, right, which is great. So when they do pass or do play action, I love the way he comes at the quarterback. He knows to seal the edge. He stays in his lane. I like that. Just his quickness in getting off of a block in the in run defense. But I also like when we're playing against quarterbacks like a Josh Allen. I like that JFM could get out there after him. You know, that he has that speed and that athleticism. And I think a lot of people just, when they're just looking at box scores and just one statistic, sacks, don't really understand that JJ had a really good year. That, you know, for a rookie, he was really good. He sealed the edge. He was good against the run. He made some great plays coming off blocks. Like, he had a very decent rookie year. He really wasn't in a position to be a sack guy, to get a lot of sacks.
If you look at percentage, like percentage of snacks based on snaps, right? Like, those are the numbers that you need to look at. Like, his productivity, not as a total number, but as a percentage based on his snaps taken, and compare that to the other defensive ends and edges in the class. Like, he was one of the best. He just didn't get the workload.
Lights out.
Yeah.
Lights out. Yeah, Chiefs Live is Huff a free agent next year. So he was restricted free agent this year. We assigned the second round tender. So that lasts for 1 year. I think he'd be a UFA after the season, right? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. All right.
So we have a super chat from
We the People.
When the Jets win, thank you for the super chat, Weed. I appreciate it. When the Jets win the Super Bowl, I'm jumping into the Bay in the middle of February. Also, off topic, Tigo, your disrespect for soup, it's shameful. Boo.
It's disrespect. I love soup, but it's disrespect for soup in Europe. Don't eat soup in Europe.
European soup.
But if you're in Yugoslavia, like Macedonia, Croatia, they love soup there. I mean, like, that's a huge part of it.
If you're like in freaking Scandinavia in the wintertime, I'm going to need some soup. That's all I'm saying.
Dead animals. Give me your
You gotta
dead
put
animals.
the lemon. You gotta squeeze the lemon in the juice. Like, if my guy Afram was here, he'd tell you. He's Albanian. I know they when they have
Middle
their
East,
soup,
yeah, they know what they're doing.
They have the same thing. The lemon, fresh lemon squeezed into soup, man. It's a big deal.
Yeah, like generic soup can be really, really brutal, but a good soup made with some love, oh man, that speaks to your soul right there.
Yeah, and
It's
I
gotta
love
be
me
done
some
well.
soup. Just like, that's not why you go to Europe. It's just not what you do it for, right? Like, you don't go there to eat soup.
Thanks for the super chat, we the people. We appreciate it.
Just the disgust in your voice when you say soup, like in Europe. It's just,
Soup.
oh my gosh.
It's like
if you're going,
Hey, the soup Nazi was European. The soup Nazi on Seinfeld was clearly European, so he knew.
well,
what he was
yeah,
doing.
he brought his soup to New York. You're eating soup at home, not in Europe.
But I think a few of the recipes that Elaine found in the furniture, they must have originated.
It also depends on the kind of soup, like where you are. You know, like if you're like, you know, it's very popular to go. Like if you're in San Francisco and you're in the Wharf, you get a big sourdough like bread, and it's carved out the inside, and they put in clam chowder, and people
Yes,
go crazy.
That's a different situation. Like seafood is almost kind of served best in those situations, and chowder's not a soup. So let's start there.
Okay,
Chowder's not a soup.
It has more of a food-like feel to it.
Yep, the chowder's
right.
not a
Stew
soup.
is not soup either. I'm with it.
You chew a chowder, you can slurp a soup.
Just like I want to chew my orange juice, apparently.
You're munching on your orange juice. That's what you're doing.
And loving it.
Look, we the people. To be fair, soup literally is dirty water. That's just what it is. Get water, you put some stuff in it, and then you make it dirty. I'm just saying. It's not wrong. Now, I'm not saying that I'm anti-dirty water.
If you want to,
apparently you've never had a hot dog in New York.
There's a famous Polish restaurant, or no, Ukraine restaurant in New York. All the Ukrainian restaurants in New York are on 2nd Avenue, the low, like 8th Street, 9th Street, 10th. There's like 5 or 6 Ukrainian restaurants. I don't know why they picked that area. One of them, I'm forgetting the name, Zelniks or Zel something. They're famous. They were shipping it for a while to raise money for the war effort, to like donate money to the Ukraine. They were sending out jars of their red borscht. They're famous for their borscht. And my wife surprised me with it because I grew up on borscht because my grandfather used to make it because he was from Kiev. So my grandparents on my father's side. So I used to go to their house on Saturdays. We'd go visit them in the afternoon, and we'd get fresh onion rolls because it was Brighton Beach. We'd go into the Russian bakeries and get the onion rolls, and then we would have borscht, and we would dip the onion rolls into the borscht. It was wonderful. It's like my childhood. Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like those days are long gone. But the recipe still exists. My family recipe still exists because my brother has it and actually does a video where he teaches people how to make it.
Oh, Tigo's drinking some soup right now. I can see.
No, because there's no. I don't chew on this.
Now
Soup
coming
has
to
have a chewy element.
Next season in MetLife Stadium, Tigo's soup stand.
Again, I don't know why people think I'm anti-soup. I love soup.
European soup.
Again. Here's
You're
the thing.
just saying when in Europe, don't do soup.
Especially if it's the first time. Like, I've been to England so many times. Like, I'll have a soup in England because I've eaten everything else there. You know? Like, but if you're going to Italy for the first time and you get handed a menu, and instead of choosing, like, a carbonara or insert literally any... Carbonara is my favorite. That's why I went there. Like, in Italian food that's actually Italian. Like, you look at that in the menu and you're just like, oh man, like they just killed the pig back there, and the pancetta is gonna be the freshest thing you've ever had. And this lady is missing 6 teeth and is like 300 pounds, but somehow she's like 98 and she's still walking around. You know she makes good food, and you're gonna order soup.
Tigo, just be thankful that Nick isn't here because we're going way easier on you than he would have been.
Yeah, that's right. You can put
I'm
hot
not
sauce in
anti-soup.
any soup, yeah.
Don't travel and eat soup. Eat a dead animal.
GVH, you can put hot sauce in anything. No, I understand what Tigo is saying. I mean, look, I am not a salad guy. I only said that for Greece because of the one experience in this Greek restaurant where the Greek salad is so freaking good. But I get the overall point. Like when I was in Italy, when I was in Prague, like in the Czech Republic, when I was in these countries, when I was in Amsterdam, I didn't go into restaurants and get salad and soup. I didn't. I would. I definitely did not do that.
Thank you, Lord. Okay.
Because why would you?
Shocker, Jeremy.
Dead animals and carbs. That's what you need. Dead animals and carbs.
Welcome to the Dead Animals and Carbs show, everybody.
With the side of starch. That's what you should be eating when you're over there. What starch do they have? What carb do they have? Generally, those can be the same thing. And by the
way, if you've ever been to Italy, you notice the people that walk around there, they're not overweight. They're in decent shape. Because they actually move, they walk, they exercise, they keep their portions somewhat limited. Carbs by themselves are not bad for you. It's just when you eat a load of them and then lay down on the couch for 6 hours. There's a way to do it. Okay.
I was also, when I went
just
to
had to
Italy
say
for the
that
first time, surprised that Alfredo sauce isn't a thing.
Oh man, never been an Alfredo guy.
I love Alfredo. It's my specialty. I make an Alfredo I make a chicken Alfredo that'll literally knock your socks off.
Just put some pulp in it, then I'll go for it. Okay.
The pulp is chicken. That being said, I was thoroughly surprised to find out that
Tyson, stop being a prick. Thank you. Keep going, Tigo. Stop.
It's like the saucing of pastas is one of those things where I go that's an American thing, where we over sauce our pasta. That's an American thing. That's not an Italian thing at all.
Right. When I was in Italy, they didn't do that. Hey, one of my favorite things in Italy, there's a restaurant in Florence that me and my wife love. And one of the appetizers, I'll never forget, it's one of the greatest things I ever had, was tortellini in broth.
Yeah.
And it was the most wonderful thing. So technically, there was a soup element to it, but it was wonderful. I mean, it was liquid gold. But really, the star of the dish was the tortellini. Because they hand make it in the back fresh. It's al dente, fresh tortellini, meat tortellini too, which is just amazing, right? The flavor, and it was one of the best dishes. One of my favorite dishes there. It's just a simple tortellini in a broth, and it's just heaven. And I love Alfredo. I just can't. The reason I can't do Alfredo is because I'll be in the bathroom for 2 hours after I eat it. When I was younger, I was able to do it. My stomach can no longer do Alfredo, but that has nothing to do with the taste. I love Alfredo. I mean, tortellini Alfredo. I mean, all day long. Fettuccine. I mean, come on.
I love Alfredo,
Especially with
like
a
I
little
said.
bit of ham in it. A little bit of chopped prosciutto.
I know you're trying when you say prosciutto. Yeah, when I posted, I did a event at one of the top 100 restaurants in the country, rated by Yelp at this place, this little place not far from where I live, and I posted the photos on Instagram. And they served us a 7-course dinner. We had no idea what we were getting, but it was just this little out of the way place. It seats maybe 30 to 35 people, and one of the courses that we got was a chicken marsala, but the guy made his own fettuccine noodles, and it was actually an Alfredo base with a Marsala wine reduction. Like if you get chicken Marsala, you used to think like a Marsala gravy. Marsala was just part of the component. So he made his own Alfredo with the homemade fettuccine with the thickness of the Marsala with the chicken. And I got to tell you, it was a pretty dynamite dish. I got to tell you.
Well, so even Green Bean yesterday, man. It's like when there's no news, when there's nothing crazy happening, how fast we just get consumed with food talk. It's amazing. But
there's so much food and like that you can just talk
all because
about.
Of cruise talk.
It all started with the cruise.
All it took was a cruise. Yeah,
I go on a cruise next month.
Where are you going to be going?
I'm going on a Disney cruise. I don't know where we're going on the Disney cruise, but we're doing a Disney.
How old is your kid that you're doing a Disney cruise already?
10 months.
10 months you're doing a Disney
I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Well, they probably have all kinds of fun things that's going to just blow his mind, right?
I'm sure.
He's going to, he's just now getting to where, he's figuring out walking. He's not walking yet, but he's, standing on his own, and he's, figuring out, taking steps. And so by the time the cruise happens, he should be, running around. And it's not, the Disney cruise is more for my niece. It's my whole family is going.
Oh, okay.
And she's 3. And so, she's, in love with all, Minnie and the Disney princesses and all that stuff. But, yeah, we're just going because why not?
All right.
Or would we say no to a cruise?
Well, speaking of food, I smell dinner, and I hear my wife banging the pots and the spatula.
Sounds good.
So Tigo, you mentioned the video. You want to talk about it again? Let's see if we can get some people. If there's anybody here who's not subscribed to, most of the people that are here are subscribed to our channels. But just to make sure, if you're not subscribed to Talking Jets with Tigo, what the hell is wrong with you? Subscribe. His videos are awesome, super informative. He's super passionate. They're so much fun to watch. I watch every single one of them. I don't know if you know that I do, Tigo, but I do. So make sure you check that out. And you two were talking about a video before. You want to talk about it again and get people pumped up for it?
Yeah, I am going to make what ultimately is going to get me crucified on the internet, because apparently if I say anything that I get crucified for it, because I'm not allowed to have opinions that differ from people.
Exactly.
But I am making I'm making the argument in a video that's coming out tomorrow that the New York Jets should take Makai Becton's 5th-year option. I think it's a smart business move. I think it makes a ton of sense. And I kind of go over why I think those things in about a 6-ish minute long video tomorrow. And yeah, that's it.
All right. So make sure you subscribe.
Videos every day, live streams Wednesdays and Fridays, all the normal stuff.
Love it. And WA2K99, you got to go subscribe to New York Sports Wicker Media. I am sure with the Rangers in the playoffs and playoff season coming for basketball and the New York Mets starting tomorrow, I can only imagine that your channel is going to be exploding with fun content.
It's been exploding already today. I've already put 4 videos up today, and I'm about to work on a 5th. If you can believe it, I've recorded it, just got to put it together. So today we've put up, I did a Mets season predictions video. I predicted the outcome of every WrestleMania match, because let's not forget, WrestleMania is coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So if you're into WWE, definitely check out that video. I did a little brief video on the Rangers extending Philip Hedl, giving him an absolutely amazing 4-year contract, less than $4.5 million a year, total steal. And right before we came on the air, I put up a video on why the Jets may need both Alan Lazard and Corey Davis. If you think you're not a Corey Davis fan, you might want to check it out. I'm sure I won't change your mind, but it's a different perspective. So, and I will be doing a Major League Baseball predictions video as well. I've already recorded it. I'm just going to edit it, put a few things in there to make it look a little bit more pretty, and then we'll go from there. But again, thank everybody for watching, and I will be at Rangers Capitals in DC on Sunday. I am so excited to go. It's going to be several hundred of us taking over the 400 section at the Capital One Arena. It's going to be fantastic.
Capitals are out, right? Like they can't make it.
I don't know if they're not officially eliminated, but right now they would definitely be out of the playoff picture.
Who's officially eliminated? It's the Blue Jackets.
The Blue Jackets are definitely out. I think the Flyers are pretty close to being out.
The Hawks are out.
The Sharks are out.
The Sharks and the Ducks are out. But everybody else technically can still make it.
I think everybody technically aren't. Oh my gosh, yeah. I was actually looking. So we're thinking about going to Arizona next December. My family and I were thinking about heading over there, and I'm like, they're playing at the college arena at Arizona State. I'm like, the tickets probably are pretty. You can't get in that building right now for less than $150. It is unbelievable to watch a garbage team, but it's still so exciting to have such a good seat to watch horrible hockey. It actually, Montreal and Columbus are the only two teams eliminated from the East, and in the West you got Arizona, Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose.
Montreal can't make it in at all.
Montreal is out, 66 points, and Philadelphia will soon be out as well.
So
my league's clinched.
So I want to let everybody know I might because I'm off on Friday in California. We have a holiday here. Chavez, he's somebody who spoke up for farmers' rights years ago to protect farmers and workers, and they celebrate him here. And it's actually a day off for school for us. So I might do an early Friday edition during the day. Like I'm gonna squeeze through some of those other guys and wait for an opening during the day to just sit and chat a little bit, do a little Friday day off edition. Sunday, there will be no show at Dom C because he's going to be on his cruise. So I don't know what's going to, happen there, but I definitely will see you guys. I'll jump on Friday during the day, and I'll be popping out my videos. And of course, you guys know I've been pushing really hard for my Cravat Attack channel with my brothers, where we're releasing food reviews every day. That is Cravat Attack.
I'll
type it in the chat so you can see how to spell it. It's just the way it is. If you search for that, the way it is in the chat, you'll see Cravat Attack. Fun videos, food reviews. Guys, thanks for being on. I want to thank everybody who watched and viewed, everybody who's watching it later on, everybody in the chat, all you guys. We wouldn't be here doing this and creating this content if it wasn't for all of you. Tigo, thanks for coming on with no notice whatsoever. Every time I see your name in the chat, I'm like, Tigo just needs to be on here. And
I'm always down.
And thanks to my co-host Adam, who's been with me since freaking the very, very beginning when we had 5 people in here watching us. So
and now it's like 9 times that, which in theory sounds really good.
Yeah. It sounds really good when you say it that way, doesn't it?
9 times the previous audience. We've grown 900%. Just go with it.
So thanks, everybody. Take care. I'll leave you with this. Don't not be Thibodeau. And here it comes. It's about to come in. Oh, my God. They didn't. They took Sauce Gardner. Oh, my God. They don't want an edge. Maybe he likes Jermaine Johnson at 10. Then we're not going to get a wide receiver?
Garrett Wilson, wide receiver. Oh my God, no edge.
Who's sitting there?
The Jets traded up. Are we taking JJ? Because I know Braden is in New Zealand saying, we should get Lily, Mike. He's definitely saying that. JJ! We got Johnson at 26! This is great! Yes! They took Roger McCreary, they didn't take Dean, and we traded up. We can get the Kobe Dean. It really is. They took Breece Hall. Wow. I mean, look, I love Brees Hall. But there's also Jeremy Ruckert, who I think is the best tight end in the class personally. They took Jeremy Ruckert. They took Jeremy Ruckert. Yes. We got a Jeremy. We got a Jeremy. Oh, and the Jets pick, and it's Max Mitchell, offensive tackle. We needed that. That's wow. We took Michael Clemens. I never heard of him. A defensive edge.